Meeting is being live streamed, so heads up about that. And at this time, we'll rise for the pledge for the flag and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, our first item of business is to swear in our new Millersville University student rep, Terry Doherty. Thank you.
You put the paper down.
As Millersville University Student Advisor to the Millersville Borough Council, I do recently,
Terrence Doherty.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Hang on, I want to get a beauty shot.
I want to get a beauty shot, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, good sign.
We'll get the blood sample later.
There you go, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. We'll look forward to your report later on. Next item of business is approval of the March 10th, 2026 council meeting minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the March 10, 2026 council meeting minutes without edit.
Thank you, Joe.
Second.
Second, Marion. Thank you. All right. Discussion on that at all? All right. All those in favor of approving the 2020 or the March 10th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. Next up, citizens' requests or concerns. If anyone would like to address the council, you may step up to a microphone, state your name and address for the record. Anyone? All right. There'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Moving along to reports from boards and commissions. First up is Blue Rock Regional Fire Commission. Mr. Mayor?
Okay. Yeah, the Blue Rock Regional Fire District Commission met on Thursday, March 5th at the Millersville Station. We have made about $4,700 in February interest income with our bank accounts. We transferred all this money over to interest-bearing accounts last year, so donations continue to come in for the new firehouse project. We have 409 donors raising $2.22 million, and Blue Rock had a total of 97 fire calls in February, 46 in Manor Township and 31 in Millersville. Manor Township had 4 falls and 12 were falls in Millersville, and the rest of the calls were outside the district supporting other fire companies. Okay, besides Congressman Smucker, we also submitted grant request letters to senators, U.S. senators, Fetterman and McCormick offices as well, so that's it then.
Great. All right, Civil Service Commission, Tony?
Good evening, Council. My name is Tony Hightower. I'm the chairman of the Civil Service Commission. And I'm here today to present a resolution and propose approval of a change to the civil service regulations. And the change is to section 3.4 for the minimum age requirement for hiring of a police officer, which is currently 21 years old. Through a recent application, we recognize that 21-year-old limitations unnecessarily limiting while we have a great need for police officers. The civil service guidelines for Pennsylvania boroughs provide a guideline of an age between 18 and 21 as the minimum age, where we recognize that the hiring process brings in individuals with a 1-year probationary period, so they'll be observed and monitored for at least 1 year after hiring. And we will propose a change of that 21-year requirement to 20 years, which would, we believe, ensures adequate maturity and allows for monitoring of the person while they're in their first year as a police officer during that probationary period. So that's the change, and the change would have that age be at the time of hire. And I'll open for any questions, thoughts.
Any questions for
I'll
Tony?
I'll start with the obvious one. Chief, is this something that you would be in support of?
Yeah, we had a very good, long discussion on the topic, and we thought we'd covered every base with everything we could to increase our chances, and this question came up from an applicant. We hadn't thought of this, so it made us think of it and discuss it and think about what is reasonable. It's discretionary between 18 and 21, and where do you think you would fall reasonably? I think you need a couple years after high school where we see some transition to employment to be able to judge a background off of, and I think it's reasonable to drop it down to 20, and you still have that first year of probation.
Any reason that we selected 21 initially, or changed it 21 if that was changed in the past? Any idea about that historically?
Historically, we don't have a context, so we're, based on what we see, it's been 21, and that is aligned with the guidelines of the range between 18 and 21. And the guidelines do inform that the basis for the minimum age is to ensure adequate maturity at the time of hiring. So, with that range, it may have been arbitrary at the top of the range. The candidate that made us recognize this was a candidate who is in the police academy at this time and will be 20 about the time that they graduate. And that would be a candidate that we, if they do apply, we'd be leaving behind. And so this 20 we believe is a reasonable change that wouldn't put us at risk of hiring somebody who is substantially less mature than we would have hired prior to the change.
20 sounds young to me, but I know we have a thorough vetting process, and certainly would leave it up to the Civil Service Commission and Chief to vet anyone, and I'm sure he wouldn't put it forth anyone who wasn't qualified and mature enough for the role.
And that's absolutely, Lauren, and that's the other part that we didn't talk about yet is we do have the hiring process that includes the interviews and the background investigation to ensure that the candidates do have adequate aptitude, and that wouldn't change with the change to the minimum age requirement. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and with the year probationary period, I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Are there other roles that could be maybe played as an assistance, like sort of that takes some of the weight off of the officer's plate as far as some paperwork or things like that younger, I'll say like, there would be college students or something like that would want to intern or something like that maybe not on the patrol side of things, but as clerical or just to kind of get some working knowledge of how it all.
So, yeah, so right now, we're looking at the Civil Service Commission regs provide the minimum hiring requirements. And they're specifically for officers that would be hired as full-time officers under civil service protection. There are lots of other venues that the chief may explore outside of the full-time civil service officer. But if we did hire a full-time civil service officer that needed an accommodation, that would all be up to the chief. This would be a minimum requirement that, our civil service process is aimed at ensuring that people are hired fairly and they meet minimum requirements, per the council's discretion as well. And this wouldn't supersede any type of those accommodations. They would be really outside of our civil service process. Yeah, but thanks, Greg. Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts?
Any other questions for Tony? All right, hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to amend and restate the rules and regulations for the Civil Service Commission as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the resolution to amend and restate the rules and regulations for the Civil Service Commission as presented tonight, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, Planning Commission?
I just placed Planning Commission on the agenda since Planning Commission did meet this month, and wanted to make sure that everybody on council was aware that they made the recommendation to approve the SALDO, the street and sidewalk ordinance draft, and the traditional neighborhood development draft ordinance. So all of those draft ordinances continue on to the next step. The street and sidewalk and the SALDO is at the Lancaster County Planning Commission to be reviewed for their April meeting. I believe that the TND ordinance, because that's being handled mostly by Garmin, is going to be reviewed by the County Planning Commission at their May meeting. And then once both of those subsequent meetings have happened, then the subsequent public hearings can be scheduled.
Thank you. Next, staff reports, we have the financial report. Rebecca?
Yes, I'll just note one thing, that you'll probably see that one of the reports looks a little bit different this month. That's because we're now up and running with our new finance system, which is great. Yes, it's very exciting. And so the statement of revenue and expenditures now looks a little bit different. I actually think it's a little bit easier to read and understand. The check register, because it's still for the month where we were still in the old system, it's from the old system. But going forward, you'll see the check registers coming from the new system. So just wanted to make that note that that's why things look a little bit different.
Excellent. Police report. Chief.
Before we move on to that, I'd like to make a motion to accept the February financial report and authorize staff to satisfy the ordinary and routine obligations incurred by the borough for this month.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gotcha.
All right, questions, comments on that? All right, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Okay, I'll give you the breakdown for the police department activities for the month of February. We handled 274 calls for service, 13 ordinance complaints, 8 were for disorderly conduct, 2 were for noise, 3 were all others. We handled, that resulted in 7 ordinance citations. And we also issued 2 disruptive conduct reports. We had a total of 9 criminal arrests, 2 were adult, 7 were juvenile. Part 1 offenses for the month were 4, we cleared 1 for 25% clearance. Part 2 offenses for the month were 22, we cleared 20 for 91% clearance. Total traffic violations for the month were 36, 12 of those were speeding, 11 others. We handled 11 vehicle accidents, 6 reportable, 5 non-reportable, issued 141 parking tickets, patrolled just over 2,700 miles. For the more involved investigations that get passed on to the detective or myself, we did have a potential Megan's Law violation that we looked into and were able to close. And that's it.
Excellent. Code enforcement report. Rob?
In February, we issued 13 permits, performed 7 inspections. We had 39 rental renewals and 65 inspections. So far in March, we issued 13 permits, performed 15 inspections. We had 156 rental renewals and performed 24 inspections. Is there any other questions on the rest of the report?
For me, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Next, we have voting items, and these were budget adjustments that were discussed at our last meeting. So at this time, I'll make a motion to approve the discussed 2026 budget amendments to the sewer capital reserve and capital, or general capital reserve.
Second.
Any discussion on those items?
Any items, Les or Rebecca, that need to be added beyond what we discussed during the last council meeting?
I don't believe so at this, but not for those lines that we talked about. I think we're still relatively comfortable with those numbers.
Yes, they're covering what is not covered, yeah.
And all the quotes to represent that were in the backup.
Yep.
All right, then we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the discussed 2026 budget amendments for sewer capital reserve and general capital reserve signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up is the reappointment of Dawn Fisher to the Historic Commission with a term date ending February 24th, 2031. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve that reappointment.
I'll second.
Any discussion,
None from me.
questions? All right, all those in favor of reappointing Dawn Fisher to the Historic Commission with a term ending February 24th, 2031?
There we go. Signified by saying aye?
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, it seems so far away, the 30s.
Can't exist. The 30s is a long time ago. Be in the future.
All right, our only discussion item tonight is approval of the proposed design and construction documents, bidding, and construction administration for Freedom Memorial Park Phase 1 improvements. Did you want to address that?
Sure, absolutely. So we received our proposal from Barry Eisen and Associates. They are our firm that we've been working with for the park master plan as well as the grant applications for Phase 1. The next step in our process, now that we have had our initial meetings with DCNR about grant execution and started to work through the fun paperwork that comes with accepting a grant. Now we're at the point now where we're ready to basically start moving into design phase. Barry Eisen and Associates have put together a proposal for us of what it would look like, all of the different pieces that they would be able to help us through and get us to the end of the first phase. So what you'll see in their proposal to us is that they would be handling the design. That would be their landscape architect team would be on the design part of this. construction documentation and the bidding. So getting all of the documents ready to be able to go out to bid, although I will say that we're hoping to use mostly CoStar vendors for this project, meaning that they've already been bid by the state, therefore that will save us on time and money on bidding each individual part of the project. And then they would also be helping with the construction administration, so essentially site management type of work. We're hoping that based on the type of work that we're doing with phase one, there isn't going to be a lot of construction administration that needs to be done. However, they will be sort of the on-site go-to helpful person and making sure that the project is staying on track. And so that is calculated in here as well. And I want to note too that this is within the limitations of the soft cost requirements of both grants, both of the DCED and the DCNR grants, because I certainly wanted to confirm that when I got the proposal to make sure that it fell within the guidelines, so that we are indeed going to get our grant funding for all portions of this. So that is all confirmed. And I can certainly answer any questions about this, but we'd be looking this evening to have the council vote to approve the signing of this proposal and them starting to work on the design.
Do you have an anticipated timeline for the end of, or for bidding probably and construction?
Sure. So in our initial conversation, and you know, the market can constantly change, but in our conversation about where we think we're going to be timeline-wise, we think that this first phase of doing getting the design ready, starting to contact bidders, or contacting vendors, working through that, we think that'll probably take through rest of spring, probably into most of summer. We would hopefully looking at maybe doing parts of the project in fall, working through how we can in the winter. We think that some parts of it might be able to be done in the winter, others might not. And then hopefully by the park season of next year, people can actually start enjoying the new elements. We do luckily, not that we will use probably all four, we do have 4 years to use the money from these grants. Not that we expect it to take that long, but we do have flexibility if something happens. But we think based on the elements that are part of this phase, that's a pretty reasonable timeline.
Very exciting.
It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. I'm thrilled.
Questions?
Yeah, in looking at any kind of potential cost overruns, is this a project for which we have an escalator clause kind of built into it?
Not really, because we have a budget, and we have the exact amount that we have for the grant, and we have the amount that we budgeted on the borough side for our half of it. So I think that between us and Barry Ice and Associates, we're going to make sure that we're staying within those means.
But we've communicated like the sort of like strict cutoff we have with them, so they're in alignment with.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. We are definitely on the same page about what the expectations are, and already they're looking at ways to help us with cost savings. The other nice thing too that will help us if for some reason we notice that, let's say the pour-in-place material that's going to be going into the park, I don't know, suddenly that becomes exorbitantly more expensive than we expected. One of the nice things about the DCNR part of the grant is that it's not a reimbursement grant, it's an upfront grant where we actually can receive the money before we even put a shovel in the ground. One of the requirements of the grant is that we put that money into an interest-bearing account. And they encourage us to then use that interest on any additional project costs, which is great. One, that would help us with our match funding, because maybe we wouldn't have to use as much. But on the other hand, too, then if there is something that would go slightly over, we would have some coverage for that. So I appreciate that part of the DCNR grant, that we can start getting money up front and then be able to put it into an account to earn us a little bit of money while it's in there.
Other questions? All right, then I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the proposal for design, construction documentation, bidding, and construction administration for the Freedom Memorial Park Phase 1 improvements from Barry Issett and Associates.
Second.
All right, discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Excellent. Mayor's report?
Up again. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the mayor has received several invitations to different events that's happening with organizations within the borough that I plan to attend to represent the borough. On Thursday, March 26th, the Loft Community Partnership will hold an open house at their new location in the previous ambulance building on East Charlotte Street. The invitation was extended to all of council and the borough manager. And the LOF is a nonprofit community center providing services to the Penn Manor School District residents. They provide food, clothing, and other living necessities to the needy, low-income people. They serve over 300 families, plus there's a number of Millersville students that they also serve as well. So the invitation extended to us is from 9 to 11. But what happened, they also inviting the neighborhood, and that is from 4 to 6. If you can't make the morning session, from 4 to 6, you can show up, and I'm sure they'll more than welcome you to come in. And at the same time,
Mayor, I might add, while it's 300 families, the number of people is up over 1,000 now,
Oh, yeah.
including the children. So 300 families sounds like a lot,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of people that are involved here. So.
yeah, and I understand that there's quite a few Millersville University students that show up as well, so.
Yeah.
And not just that, I mean, we're very proud of the Loft, obviously, in this community, but they are critical, is my understanding, towards serving a lot of the southern end of the county that a lot of other aid organizations don't reach, and certainly not with the kind of hours that they offer.
So, at the same time, I will be issuing a proclamation to the Loft and proclaiming March 26, 2026 as Loft Community Partnership Day. And I encourage all members of the community to support this vital neighborhood organization. Okay, and then another invitation was received to attend the Millersville University Presidential Gala to be held on April 17th. It's a Friday. And I understand this is the inaugural event that they're hosting. So the event is to honor leaders in our community for excellence in business, excellence in science, technology, and engineering, and mathematics, and for leadership in education. So finally, the mayor is invited to attend the Immerse International 2026 Spring Celebration to be held on Tuesday, April 28th. Immerse International was previously known as the International House, okay, here in Millersville. They've been in existence for over 35 years, and they are a nonprofit organization serving immigrants, refugees, and people from many, many nations. They provide English language training, community support, and practical integration into our community services. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up is the Millersville University report.
Hi, everybody.
Terry?
My name is Terrence Doherty, and there's a couple things going on in the month of April. First, we got Book Fest, and the English and World Language Department is holding a book festival where student-run organizations will host games, crafts, events, and collect used books and funds for Lancaster Public Library. They're also looking to invite local businesses, such as getting gift cards for bookstores. If you're interested, you can reach out to them by email, which will be provided later. This is taking place on April 20th, 2026 at 11 p.m. to 1 p.m. in the Student Memorial Center on Millersville's campus. Second, we have the Made in Millersville Conference as a presentation of student work they made throughout their college career. This conference is on April 14th throughout the day. Online summaries of all the students' work will be put out on Publication Day, April 20th, and can be found at a later date on Millersville's website. There are also many different sports going on right now. Baseball is just starting up, and their home game is held at Cooper Field, right next to the parking garage on North Pring Street, with their next game being a doubleheader this Saturday at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Men's and women's tennis is also being held outside Mackenzie Hall, and men's tennis is playing tomorrow, where women's tennis is playing next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Lacrosse is being played at Millersville's football stadium, Chris Field, this Saturday at 1, and the same stadium, women's track, is having their next meet on April 3rd at 1. Lastly, the softball team, plays their next 2 games on 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. at Seaver Softball Stadium, which is a stadium right next to Pizilla Gym. You can find more information about these sports and more at millersvilleathletics.com. And lastly, I just wanted to thank the people of Millersville for showing up to Millers Students Day. It was a really fun party with food, music, mini golf, and it was a great representation of the clubs that make up Millersville's student body. Thank you.
Thanks. Do you have anything to add?
That's great, thank you.
All right, wonderful. Managers report.
Sorry, neither of our Penn Manor students could be here this evening. They sent me a note ahead of time. Just one big item for the manager's report this evening. As you know, we've been working to fill 2 maintenance worker positions on our street team. We filled one of those already a few weeks ago, and now we're looking to fill the other position. Clarence Ekman, his information was in the backup, comes with many years of experience, which we're very excited about. And we would, because of his years of experience, we'd be looking to start him at a step 2. Which would be the yearly salary of $54,942. We're looking to hopefully start him on or around April 6th.
I'll certainly make a motion to extend the offer of employment as maintenance worker 1 to Clarence Ekman.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor of extending an offer of employment as maintenance worker 1 to Clarence Ekman signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. I have nothing to add this evening. We can move on to citizens' requests or concerns. Again, if anyone would like to address council, now is an opportunity. Hearing none, we'll move on. We do not need an executive session this evening, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Marion second. All right, all those in favor of adjournment at 6:33 signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you all so much.
Good speed run, team.
Yeah, right.